welcome to the Digital Advantage OpenText Dicadata podcast. How are you doing today, Ian?
Very well, thanks, Tony. Very well. How about you?
I am very good, sir. First episode. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, what I say, just, a former engineer that sort of came into this role, and, I found that background really helped me succeed in my pre-sales career with OpenText, which led me to the point of, being given the privilege of running the team, which is, spread across ANZ. The team's, a hugely successful bunch of individuals. Make my life very easy because of how skilled they are, but they're out there, helping the rest of the ANZ sales team, provide solutions for customers.
Fantastic.
And,
Fantastic, mate. I thought we'd call this podcast a Digital Advantage. Because everyone talks about digital transformation, but really we're past that point. People should already be down that path. But digital advantage is so important for customers to really realize what they're doing. Tell us what digital advantage means to you, sir.
Well, it starts with the two words, of course. Advantage, says what's the difference? You can transform and be just different, but advantage indicates obviously better. And I think you need to start with that outcome in mind. Mm-hmm. Going into something with an outcome focus is super important. And when you decide what you're going to achieve with that, you can then set your goals, set your project to be successful. But just transforming for the sake of updating and things like that, that's business as usual activity. That's not really transformation.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I talk to a lot of partners and customers and they think digital transformation is the same as digital migration. So if you're doing the same thing today, but you're just moving it into cloud, there is a little bit of transformation, but might not be getting that goodness out of it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, that's a simple, almost workflow study where you could say, well, you pass this piece of paper around the office and it does this, but you're only passing it around because there's one copy. In the digital world, you could actually get everyone to look at this at the same time. Simple changes like that don't necessarily change the amount of work, but they certainly change the throughput you can get on a job and the elapsed time from start to finish. That enables you, to be more agile, to get decisions made a lot quicker than you would normally, without any additional workload. Just a transformation of the process in that case, which is made possible by making it digital. Yeah,
I love how you put that. The decision of how to do business with your data. Tell us, I know we don't want to jump into products, but you guys have been doing this for a long, long time. When did it click in OpenText's mind that this is something that is so important to businesses?
Well, I think it's when we realised that for instance, the way we integrate into the lead applications where people do their work is just one way you can make the experience seamless. It goes beyond frictionless. It makes it seamless for end users to do their work. The content is right there, and that really gave us what we called at the time, without thinking of digital advantage, was the idea that really can transform the way people work, given that speed. It's not just, we can do this, isn't it great? Actually, you can work like this and have a seamless experience as a user, which means that we then make the right thing to do the easiest thing to do. And that's what you're looking to do, is simplify this for end users, because the expectations around simplification are huge. Everyone's got a phone that is extremely simple and the app only works one way. Yeah. Everyone knows how to work with it. We need to get to that level of simplification for the end user, despite the complexity that we provide at the back end.
It's quite interesting, and I'll jump over a little bit and I'll fall back a bit. We talk a lot about that simplicity, but when you think about compliance should be simple as well. And I think what technology has done is made it a little bit complicated, but your solutions don't do that.
That's right. We try and almost protect the end user from that complexity. I mean, I still remember my first experience with part of compliance is the filing system where you put content. I still remember in the 90s my first experience of seeing one of these and thinking, this is crazy. Why would I put this here, and this here, when they're all about the same thing? And it's really, and to me, I'd keep all those three things in a folder. And we need to give that same view to end users, but backfill what happens in the background with the intelligence around how this content should be looked after over its life cycle. Otherwise, you'll be training everyone in a complex task, which is not an efficient manner to get workers using their business systems.
Yeah, and that's the real life situation where I think like some of your products like eDocs and things like that people may or may not know about really change the way like legal firms and finance organizations deal with that compliance and also data management.
I think given that view that, a legal firm, for instance, they're almost exclusively client matter based when they look at items, which is, how solutions like that were set up. And in many ways, that helped the overall market come to terms with the idea that we need to put things in context for the people that are using the solutions we provide. For us, that's putting the workspace inside SAP or Salesforce or SuccessFactors, making it simple for them. The content's right there, and it's been designed to be looked after properly in the background. That real making, again, the right thing to do is the easiest thing to do for the end user there, not keep it on their desktop. I mean, a whole different subject of spreading out content over different places is another time, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting how you talked about just not your application, but other applications in the workflow of the customer. So you talk about SAP, you talk about your applications and how that sort of really should be the way you think about it, not just isolated.
Yeah, which is where the advantage comes, right? Once you consider the whole ecosystem, in this case it's an application ecosystem, but you then realize that you can't ignore what your workers are coming to work to do. If they have to swap screens or swivel their chair to go and work on the parts of their work that involve our solution, we're not helping them at all. That's one extra step they have to take to move things away. And you've got to consider these things holistically. I mean, you can have a great fast car, but you've still got to put seatbelts in it, right? And I think that's people don't always think about the seatbelt side of car performance. It's taken as a given, and that could probably lead into another conversation some other day, Tony, about security and those sorts of things, and the same way the safety and the seatbelts in cars.
Absolutely. So you see a lot of customers out there, Ian, and you advise them on this digital advantage. What do you think are the key aha moments that they go, yes, I need that, and I need to be able to make business decisions around the things you speak to them about?
I think it's, the customer I had a conversation with this morning, we were talking about, I think, migrating an application to a more contemporary platform, but that's a big task. And yet with my awareness and the rest of my team's awareness, where we are, I'd say a mile wide and an inch deep in knowledge about all our solutions, we can consult them on exactly, what's best to do in a certain situation. So in that case, while they were talking about a content repository, the idea came up that maybe you need to protect that on a more interim basis until the migration happens with, a security endpoint solution. And without that breadth of knowledge, the customers don't have that breadth of knowledge. They're almost quite compartmentalized in what they do, specialists even, which is an efficient way for them to work. For us, it's that breadth that gives us our advantage to go to customers and really consult with them on the best way to solve a particular problem.
Fantastic. I know I went on some training with OpenText and you were training. We did a bit of a role play.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. But one of the role plays was around InfoArchive. And I actually sent that and tried to do that role play to one of our partners. And one of the things he said, I think is amazing, but it's probably too complex for some of my smaller customers. Why do you think that's so? Tell me.
That's interesting. I think because until you see something and become a little bit more intimate with it, it's always a dark art and might be seen as naturally complicated. I do believe that that's actually one of the simpler products we have. In terms of what it's there to achieve, it's got cost benefits that overcome by a large margin any complexities in that solution. But in the simplest terms, it is a way to represent the same data in an old system in a new system. And once you start with that simple concept and realize that all those technical tasks that may exist are just stepping stones to get you there, once you've been through that process, you've almost built up what we like to refer to as an archiving factory. You've done it once, you've got the skills, you can actually do it again very, very easily. So again, it's really about getting people over that chasm of knowledge that they don't have. They don't want to take that leap because of the unknown. But if we can show them the unknown, it's actually a fairly simple process. I mean, I would love to just do a series of, say, 5-minute videos, for instance, on install the solution, configure it, migrate your data. There it is in the new system at such a reduced cost compared to the old system.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I see InfoArchive as, instead of backing it up, make it useful data that you can draw upon so that you make those business decisions we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's not just the cost of or the cost savings from decommissioning, but also the extra value you can get from that data by making it accessible. The fact that we can make this a repository available to analytics platforms, whereas before it would have been possibly in a very proprietary solution that wouldn't have any kind of access like that and may not even have had any internal reporting within the solution itself. Suddenly you've got extra value from that data. It's become useful. It's not just the transformation of that data into a new system. It's the advantage you gain from it. Another example of how we need to have that outcome focus to what we do in a transformative process.
It's quite interesting. I think when people think about data and archive, they think putting it away into a corner and hoping for the best if something goes wrong. But really what I like about what you just said there, it's content that you can draw upon. And I want to bring that into some of the products that you have right at the top of the enterprise stack, enterprise content management. How does that sort of function for you, and how do people sort of see content in 2022 to make it really business useful?
I think they need to see it as no different to the application they're working in. They could be a Salesforce user. I'm a Salesforce user myself. I'm a SuccessFactors user. I need to go in there and see content as a part of the process I'm looking at. And I think that's where putting that content, taking it to the people and not making them go somewhere to get it is a fundamental fact that's just transformed the way the expectations of simplicity have become pervasive within the user community. I wouldn't say we led the charge there, but we're certainly buying into the simplicity factor for end users. Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, I think, thank you for your time, but I want to ask you one last question before we're done. If we're talking about digital advantage and a customer doesn't know what that is, what are the things they should think about to really augment that into their process of buying or looking at new technology for digital advantage?
I mean, it could be something as simple as getting a complete stranger coming in to look at them, see how they work, and for them it's normal, right? But for other people might see that as a terribly inefficient process, and you could suggest very simple transformations from that point that would take them across a leap in productivity and access the data. And it's about getting a second opinion most of the time, because their opinion would be biased about their own implementation unless it's blatantly obvious. So that's why getting the sales team in or the solution consultants in to have even a cursory review of how they work and what systems they use to understand how best they can work and transform that data to give them that advantage in the long term.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Ian. It's been very educational, and I think we'll get you back on to really deep dive a little bit on those info archive bits and pieces.
It's hard for me to keep it surface level, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you, Tony. Great talking to you again. Cheers.